welcome back to Gopher's Workshop. I'm your host, Aaron, and joining me today, as always, is my fellow host, Chris.
It's me.
It's me, Chris. And Sky.
I'm here at an undesignated location.
Sky's with me in the studio today. Yay. So, are you ready to talk about this? Are you ready to get into the glitz and glamour that is Thousand Sons today, Chris?
Yeah, what changed?
There are a few less suns. We're no longer 1,000. We're 900. And anyway, so I got the codex. It's a week earlier than we normally do, but I have it in hand, so I feel comfortable going over it. And I studied a bunch last night. Turns out it's pretty solid, but it doesn't seem as such a drastic change as the previous two, but everything has had like just enough minor changes that it feels very different. But it's not like Death Guard or World Eaters where like data sheets change so hard they're like doing a different job now. But it's like just enough changes that it feels like everything's a little new. I like where we're going, but for the most part, as my standard, I will talk about Reddit because they're my favorite. They actually get a pass this week. I don't even know
what
this is. It's not because they're right, which is why I'm okay giving them a pass. This whole release has kind of been glossed over, not only by Reddit, who, while there are people talking about it, don't seem to have like super strong opinions. It's also kind of been glossed over by GW. I think this is actually a great release. There's brand new models that actually look pretty neat. There's a bunch of new stuff about this that I think is solid. But between World Eaters, Death Guard, mostly Death Guard, and then now all the talk is about Space Wolves, this whole thing has kind of been glossed over by everybody, including GW, which from a marketing perspective is a giant mistake. Like, why would you not push the sales of like one of your Primarch factions and also the longest running like Primarch faction? Because Magnus was the first Primarch to come out. Like, you know, you have a player base for this. Whatever. I don't run the company. It's fun. So, like I said, there's a bunch of new stuff. The biggest one I would argue is the army rule got toned down and reworked. So Doombolt still technically exists, but the whole point isn't to play a million Psychers and get a bunch of Cabal points and then just spam Doombolt. That's your list. It's way more balanced than that, which is to say also way less powerful, but that doesn't mean that it's not good. So basically every Psycher gets to do a 7th edition psychic test in order to attempt to pass a spell. And if they do, that effect goes off. Part of the reason this is balanced is because every Psyker can attempt a power. So even if you fail, the next Psyker could like, nope, but I'm going to roll again. And you keep going basically until it goes off, which is pretty solid. That's kind of nuts because you're almost guaranteeing it at some point. But it is balanced, and that's okay that everyone gets to test because you can't actually cast the same power more than once. So once a Psyker does Doombolt, you're not doing it again. So it's okay. There's only 4 powers in the book. One is Doombolt. It is already toned down. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But there's also 3 others. It's a really high difficulty test, but there's one that basically gives all of your army like a bonus AP in shooting against something. That's crazy. If you roll all these powers they have, if you roll high enough, it's actually like double bonus. So if you roll high enough, Doombolt does more damage. If you roll high enough, instead of getting +1 AP, you get +2 AP. The fact that you can give +2 AP against something and just shred Terminators with like AP0 flamers because they're actually AP2 is nuts. And what am I talking about? It's Thousand Sons. There's like AP1 flamers in here too. So no, like again, they're way toned down compared to what we're used to, but they are still good. But they are good in kind of different ways again. I've heard a lot of people talking about the fact that they lost cultists. I'm fine with it. They have Zangors. Arguably, they were always supposed to be their cultists. Having regular cultists was just kind of a hangover from when they were not a standalone codex. So it's fine. The regular Zangors have like uppy downy that's really solid as far as like cheap objective scoring. Yes, they're trash, but also that's why they're cheap, and they have great objective scoring because the uppy downy. It's solid, no complaints. One of the biggest things about this whole codex is with the rework of the core army rule, I no longer feel like people feel obligated to just spam as many psychers as possible. We want min units. We want characters in every unit. Even though the character doesn't do enough, we just want more psychers. Well, now it doesn't feel like the case, which means we're back to being like a real faction. I all of a sudden feel like I have choices for list builds. My detachment matters. I'm not just trying to spam whatever the detachment or whatever the core rule says, ignoring my detachment, hoping I gain some benefit. So we have a ton of options now. I think one of the biggest, let's say like glow ups, is probably Ahriman. He went down in points and his ability changed, and now he feels very themey. So the whole point of Thousand Sons, but mostly Tzeentch, is to be like kind of tricky and changing, and they don't really know what I'm doing. Ahriman now has a redeploy for Thousand Sons units, which is very nice, because not only did he get cheaper, and he is kind of, at least as far as sorcerers are concerned, pretty scary on his own. So he's, casting doom bolts or whatever else. But now he's just like, nope, I'm going to deploy some stuff, and then I get to redeploy. So whether it's like, your Zangors, because you just kind of screened them out and then you decided you're going to redeploy, or whether it's you try to trick your opponent with, look, here's my big brick of Terminators. Oh, they're actually on the other side after you finish deploying. Gotcha. Like, he's really good now. Again, he's not like crazy powerful, but he's on theme, and he's definitely better, because I think this ability is better in general as far as like long-term play against every type of opponent. But then he got cheaper, so like still happy about that. It's really funny. This book also has several data sheets that are like tougher than Nurgle for who knows what reason. It's kind of hilarious. So the two examples I have is the Chaos Spawn. They used to heal a D3. Now it's heal a flat 3. And the fact that they're a 4-wound model, it basically says, no, but I go to full health. Right? It doesn't resurrect models, but it heals any models that are alive. And I kind of think, in some ways, that is tougher than the Nurgle ones. Nurgles have a different job, but it's still really solid. A better example is probably the Demon Prince on foot. So the Demon Prince on foot has Lone Up if he's within 3, which we've seen that before. That's not necessarily what makes him tougher, though that makes him extremely hard to kill. But he gets Lone Up when he's within 3 of an infantry. Well, his ability is like a 6-inch aura of infantry gain stealth. So now the thing that's giving him Lone Up is surviving longer. And this, if he's unshootable for longer, I don't care that like Nurgle Demon Prince has an extra toughness. This guy is probably tougher. He has a better invul or armor save, I think, is actually what it is. So he's like a 204 up. So he's got really good saves. Yes, he has one less toughness, but he just is unshootable longer. And then because he didn't get the speed nerf that Nurgle did, he can like better stay out of range and then still make the charge when he wants to.
That's insane.
He doesn't have like the same. Yeah, he obviously has different abilities than the Nurgle Demon Prince. So like the Nurgle Demon Prince is doing slightly different jobs, but also like he's extremely good. And then because he's Tzeentch, I guess both Demon Princes have like dev wounds on their melee, which feels great. I think they're surprisingly better than the Nurgle ones, and I thought the Nurgle ones were reasonably takeable. Also, all the hotness is the new model, the Sekitar robots.
Are they vehicles actually?
They are. So they're vehicle walkers that are like a dreadnought, except for their little baby dreadnoughts because they're only like T6. So the other day, someone was talking. I might have even been Sky that they kind of referenced them as like vehicle centurions.
Yeah,
which is probably the most accurate like assessment in your head, right? They're a bucket of guns. You can switch out one of your guns for like a crappy gun and a good melee weapon. So they're basically like little centurions. They're crazy tall and they look pretty sweet, but they're just T6, 3 up, 4 up, or 3 up, 5 up. I think it's actually 3 up, 5 up. But yeah, they're basically just centurions.
I'm trying to remember the teasers. They were talking about some way you could like get the jump on people with them, like Alpha Strike with them.
Yeah, so they have stealth and infiltrate.
Ah, okay.
So as far as stealth is concerned, that's part of what makes them tougher. The fact that they're only T6 with a 3-up armor, but they have stealth, so they're still reasonably tough despite not necessarily looking at it, or not necessarily seeing that in their stat line. And then infiltrate is really solid. Well, they're vehicles, so they still have to like walk around corners, and that's not ideal. But the fact that they have infiltrate and they have like a short range melt-a-gun, there's definitely ways that you can make this unit pretty solid. I would argue that they're pretty reasonable at tank busting because they actually have a bunch of strength 10, including their melta is strength 10 instead of 9. Pretty solid. But I would further argue, because they lack a little bit of toughness, they're almost ideal elite busting. Like, I don't know that there's better elite busting in this codex. The models are cheap as far as points. They have a bunch of high strength, medium to high AP with flat damage on everything but the melta. They're doing like 2 and 3 damage packets, depending if you're talking about melee or shooting. But like strength 10, AP 3, flat 2 or 3 damage. Pretty solid elite busting. I think these guys are really good. Obviously, if you put them into the wrong targets, it's going to be a little rough. But they're fairly cheap models and they're pretty solid. I don't have a complaint about them. I kind of wish they were T7 so that they were more in line with actual Centurions. Because I think that's what they're kind of are. But I totally get it. They have stealth. Stealth alone probably makes them just as tough as Centurions, if not more, currently. But they've still got a reasonable speed, so they don't have the giant drawback that is Centurions. But their guns and stuff are shorter range, so they kind of need that speed. It's fine. Again, they're cheap enough.
How fast are they?
They're solid. I want to say they're 8 inches. Let me double check that.
That's enough. I mean, they're round base, right?
Yeah.
So we're not doing weird stuff with them.
Correct. So they don't have pivot, which is solid. Yep, 8 inches. They're on surprisingly small bases, so they like fit into places and can get around corners fairly easily. But again, they have to walk around walls because they're technically a vehicle.
Gotcha.
They're faster than Centurions too, though.
Yes, by double, right? Centurions are 4 inches. But again, Centurions have a range of, if I can see you, I can touch you.
Yep.
Whereas these guys have like 12, 18, 24 inch range. So they're definitely a lot shorter range, and you are obligated to needing that speed. And again, furthermore, they have infiltrate, right? So even if you like infiltrate them up behind a wall and they have to walk around, you are still netting a real amount of like movement. You've still got at least one free unit or one free phase of movement to get them to that place.
I mean, there was once upon a time where people were infiltrating and deep striking, or not infiltrating, sorry, they were deep striking the Centurions.
Yep.
And that's a real amount of distance for them.
Correct. And
so
here,
it's
again,
pretty much the same
range,
concept.
But yeah,
Yep.
you're infiltrating up, so that arguably it's better than the deep strike trick because you get to be midfield turn 1 instead of having to wait till turn 2 and hoping your opponent didn't screen you out.
Man, I love these things.
Yeah, no, they're very solid. Again, I don't know that they're like the best data sheet in the codex. I definitely think there's others that outshine it quite significantly. But as far as a brand new unit, they're definitely playable. And as long as you can get your positioning down, they're going to take a little practice. I think they're very solid. No one's ever going to tell you you're wrong for putting them in a list. They're going to be like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense because it's just good. But yeah, they are a little fickle because they're not quite as tough as we kind of expected them to be since they are vehicles. But yeah, it'll be good.
So, different thing. They got a Vindicator and the other Chaos list didn't?
Yes. So they're the only, we'll call them Snowflake chapter of Chaos, that has the Vindicator still. Now, this is technically true, but it kind of makes sense for some of them, right? Because like the Plagueburst Crawler for Death Guard is basically the Vindicator that got like demon morphed into aiming upwards on accident. Like there's an amount of this that makes sense. It's not bad that they're the only Vindicator, but also, yeah, like Emperor's Children didn't get a Vindicator, and boy howdy would they have loved some great tank busting. Like, oh, they needed the Vindicator so bad, and they didn't get it. So it's a little, I mean, they had Vindicator in Index, so it's not surprising to see it here, but it's also surprising that like when they're dropping cultists and they're really reworking this, why did they get to keep the Vindicator when nobody else does? It's weird, but it's
maybe
it's
they
fine.
needed it for balance. I don't know.
I mean, this faction's dealing out like a real amount of mortal wounds, whether it's dev wounds or whatever else. This whole book has a surprising amount of rerolling wounds and adding to wound. So I don't actually even know that they needed it compared to someone like Emperor's Children. But you know, it's still fine. It's a little out of place, but we kind of expected it because there was an index sheet for them for the Vindicator.
Also, what buffs can they uniquely give the Vindicator?
Well, so there are several. There's a whole detachment that we'll get to later that's about vehicles. So you can definitely give them some buffs with rerolls and things like that. There's enhancements that allow you to treat some of these sorcerers as tech marines and do some healing or things like that. But I think the biggest one is being able to boost AP.
Gotcha.
Vindicators are amazing, and they've got high strength. They've got a random but reasonable number of shots. Their AP3, they're big damage. AP3 is usually enough. However, on things like turn one,
if you pump it,
where you're like, no, but you've got cover, so it's actually AP2, and then also you're going to Armor of Contempt because this is like the only thing my Vindicator can see. So it's actually AP1. Being able to buff the AP further is definitely going to be very useful early game. Later game, you've probably gotten up far enough that they don't get cover anymore and things like that. So
AP5 guns.
Yeah. And it's not like
hey, Orc's got AP5 guns. It's fine.
Yeah, we're just hitting on threes, which is it's like sustain 2. Anyway,
there it is again.
I love Reddit so much. So like again, I think the bonus AP basically like raises all ships, right? Like every data sheet in here that is meant to shoot can definitely be way better than it's expected to be, because if you accidentally get the +2 AP, I don't even care if it's AP0. That's still enough to just mow through Terminators because you're putting them on, their invols, or the bonus AP, like I said, with a Vindicator or something like that. Like, no, it's AP5. I don't care that you have a 2-up armor. Your Land Raider's probably dead. Goodbye. Right. Like, it's pretty solid stuff. Again, there's a ton of stuff in here. You've got, just like we saw with some of the other factions, we have a ton of characters, but all of those characters basically can be attached to like one of two units. It's like the Rubric Marines or Terminators, the Scarab Cult. If it can be attached to Rubrics, some of them can also be attached to like Zangors, but like that's it. We're attaching to those 3 units. Like it's again a fairly simplified faction. It's not that they don't have options. It's that when it comes to like leading, well, there's only a couple of units to lead, so it's fine. So we're fairly quick here. Let's go ahead and do our mid-break a little early, and that way I can spend a little more time on favorites and least favorites.
Ooh. All right, let's go to our mid-break. Well, here we are. It's mid-break time. First thing we have to do is thank our lovely patron. It's only the one right now, but it's okay. We have to thank Mitch. Thanks, Mitch, our White Shield Guardsman patron.
He's the best. Bring his friends.
He's the best. If you are looking to become a patron, you can head on over to patreon.com/Gopher's Workshop. Join our Patreon. We started a new thing. We started adding lists to every Codex review we're doing. We'll be adding new lists built by our lovely Chris for the new codexes as they come out for his 2 favorite factions. And you can go check them out there.
They just put me in a basement and told me to build lists.
In addition to this, we are getting all kinds of other goodies. You're getting reviews for your specific army by Chris. You'll get assistance. There's all kinds of fun things you get on our Patreon. Go check it out. Use it to your advantage. Make Chris be the, what did we say? The great value general?
I called him the Dollar General.
The Dollar General.
This is the first I've heard of this. I'm going back to my basement.
It is not. I have evidence from
basement.
Hey, don't forget. I think we have like a secret thing to tease for Space Wolves. We're not there yet.
That'll be next week's problem. It's fine.
Super secret merch is coming. Don't worry about it.
Super secret squirrel merch.
I actually love it. It's so good.
Me and Sky worked so long on it.
Yeah, you might catch Chris with it later. He can't control himself.
I can't wait for a release date. Anyway, yes. So if you join the Patreon, I'll totally help you with lists, as well as you get a bunch of other benefits like the lists I put up specifically for this week with the Thousand Sons. I'm going to put up 2 lists. I usually put up lists with my favorite detachments. I'm going to do the same for this episode. However, because we got the book a little early, which is awesome, points haven't been updated, and there's some goofy things that I probably should have already mentioned in this codex, like missing points and inaccurate points. So we're actually going to post up the list next week, so a week after this releases, so that the app can update and I can make sure that I get you guys accurate points and good lists when you go and find them.
So yeah, go be a patron.
Yeah. In the meantime, we have a bunch of new stuff. So we were talking about wolves.
Holy cow.
Leaks for the Codex, as well as the pre-orders go up this Saturday for the Army box. And this is an Army box this time. So for those of you that don't know, unlike the last few Battle Force boxes we got, this one is not only going to include miniatures that you've probably seen all over the Warhammer community and such, but also it's going to include the Codex early, because not everybody's going to get this Codex. The Codex in these boxes always tends to be an alternate art as well. Super cool. And it's also going to come with the data cards. You still make a good savings on this. Usually you make a better savings on the Army boxes than the Battle Force boxes. So basically those cards, whether you like them or not, because I know not everybody loves them with changes that happen every so often, but they're effectively free, as well as a pretty discounted Codex, and then a bunch of models on top of that. So keep an eye out for those. Those are almost certainly going to disappear quickly. We haven't gotten our allocations yet, but Army boxes tend to do pretty well. In addition to that, they talked about the new mission deck that also goes up for pre-order this Saturday. So we're all going to need one of those because we're going to have a bunch of new missions to do. They didn't do a ton of leaks on the mission deck. They did talk about it, but we'll save that for another time. In the meantime, again, pre-orders go up on Saturday. Our stuff is always 15% off. I strongly suggest it, not just because it helps support us, but also because with the last mission decks we got, if you remember, they sold out pretty quickly, and it took GW like 4 months to do a reprint, and then it sold out hard again. And then it took them like another 4 months to get a reprint before people were actually able to get their hands on the mission decks easily. So try to be one of the early guys and get those mission decks early.
I remember GW itself couldn't get the shipment of extra decks to Nova Open, and they literally put up the sign that it got lost in shipping.
Yep. I remember
because they had like a whole case, and they were just trying to like shore them up for the giant event, and they still couldn't.
It was a funny, goofy time, but I appreciate that they're at least trying to like support their major DTs.
The mission set is the core of competitive play, and like everyone needs that more so than a rule book or even a codex.
Yeah.
Which is why they become hot commodities in like 2 seconds.
And because we even have some guys that like use the app a lot, or one of the apps, in order to like pull up their mission and track points. And while it's really neat, almost all of these apps kind of like paraphrase the cards. So even then, you still kind of need those mission decks to like, okay, well, we're doing this action lets me sabotage or whatever else. Like, okay, but what does that actually mean? What's the timing? Does this complete at the end of my turn or my opponent's turn? These apps are really nice and really convenient, and I love them and I use them too. However, basically all you need a mission deck. So at the very least, try to get one early for your friend group so you can all kind of share a little bit or something, because if they go out, they're probably not going to be quick to reprint. GW's too big a ship to kind of make those sharp turns.
What I will say, I know we're not going to talk about it, but from what GW has teased with the new mission deck, I'm pretty excited because this seems like it's going to change the way the game is played entirely.
I think I'm most interested to see how their new, I don't want to remember what they called it, but the secret mission deck is going away.
Oh,
and now you're
the challenger system.
Yeah. So now you like,
I want to see that too.
Because most games, even if you could do the secret objective, at that point it like limited you in certain ways, and like you had this new objective, and that was fun and cool. But the reality is like you had to give up your main job, which is what you were focusing on this whole time, and what you were kind of like trying to position to do. So a lot of people just didn't choose it, even if it was the right choice. Now with these, you can you can still get, I'm behind, I'm going to pick an alternate mission because I'm struggling to do the thing. But also now they have this like challenger stratagem thing. So now it's like, no, I'm too far behind. So mid-game, I gain access to something new so I can keep working on my main job. But now I have like this extra tool to kind of help me catch up and make the game feel a little more even and fun at the end. So again, we don't have all the information. I don't know yet. I could be wrong on some of this. Again, we'll find out when we get some of those decks and stuff, but that's for a future time. In the meantime, I just want to let you know, maybe GW printed more. I hope they did, but also if it's anything like last time, it's probably going to be worse about them running out of product quickly because everyone's going to be scared of what happened last time. So it's only going to make it more true that they're going to run out quick.
So exciting things coming out this week. I'm loving this. So is there anything else we wanted to talk about here in the mid-break?
Nope. I think I'm good. Ready to get back to ye old Codex.
I have a secret about Reddit.
Oh, God. Okay.
I hate it.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's go to the last part of the episode. Well, here we are. Last part of the episode. Chris, are you ready? You ready to get into the crunchy bits?
Yes, I am reasonably excited. Okay, so it's really funny because normally I do like my least favorites and my favorites. This book is surprisingly, let's say, balanced because I was able to find some of my favorite stuff. And then when it came to my least favorite stuff, I was like, oh, well, there's this and there's that. And that was pretty quick. But then like I got halfway through and I usually try to keep the same amount of favorite and least favorite. And like the second half of my least favorite was actually getting, like I had to really think about it. Cause I'm like, I don't know what else I like is bad enough that I feel like I need to add to the list. So it was really good. I cannot tell you enough how much I think this codex is good and reasonable. I don't think it's the best of like the four gods that we got, but it's, no one can complain about it. It is very solid. That being said, we're going to start with the funniest thing to me is we're going to wag our little finger at GW. I have said for a while that I don't like that they put points in the back of the book, because it's far too often. Not only will the points change over time regardless, so it's not even that accurate, but it's far too often that on initial release, they've already changed points and the back page is never real. Okay? And now we have an even better example of, it turns out this back page doesn't have the points for Maulerfiend at all. Just like the argument GW has, like, no, it's for casual players who don't want to play like the points adjustment. They just buy a book and they have everything. Okay, cool, but how do I play the Maulerfiend data sheet that you gave me in this book? There's no points. Is it free? Can I play like
they could
3 of them? So I'm playing, I don't know, 2,500 points and laugh at my opponent. GW.
Yeah, you thought free poxwalkers were bad.
But at least the rule acknowledged they were free. I knew that it was fair and balanced, like they had thought about it.
They could have fixed this in publishing easy. They could have just put like a giant stamp that says subject to change on that whole rules page in the back.
Okay, but so they kind of did, right? They in fact have a banner at the top with a little QR code that says, hey, use our app. It has the most up-to-date points. We're trying to keep things balanced effectively. Like, we already gave you the code that's in the book. Here's where to put it in. I'm not mad that the points change, but I don't know why, like, is one page going to change the cost of the book? No. But even from GW's perspective, why are we wasting time on not only printing this page and all the physical costs there, but like they had to pay an editor in order to like do all this. They had to like review it a couple of times, adjust points from playtesting. And then after all that money spent, they're missing a whole line so that I don't, even as a casual player who only bought the book and hates the app, I still can't play Maulerfiends. And even
listen, you know just as well as I do, they got a guy who's there, whose name is Kyle. It was his whole job to look at the book, and he didn't do it. He just took that his boss and said, yeah, I did it. And then they sent it off, and this is what we get.
And you know what? I will admit,
dang it, Kyle.
I will admit GW has a lot of interns, right? They're a giant company. Yep. And there's like a level of prestige of like, no, you've worked for this major company. It's whether you call it publishing on the side of the book or, you know, whatever else. I get it. And interns, because we've all been there either as an intern or as like the guy who was supervising the interns, right? Like depending on how old you are. Interns want to care. They're not very good at it. So it's fine, right? Like they're learning, they're young. I get it.
Fine. It's Kyle.
Okay, so in addition to GW kind of making a little mistake here, we'll say my normal spiel of things that I don't like is I think Demon Prince with Wings got kind of a flavor fail. It's not that he's bad. I don't know that I like him. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as some of the other Demon Princes with Wings, for sure. But my main issue with him is that he got kind of a flavor fail. So for starters, he has 2 abilities. The first one basically gives you a bucket of rules, which is funny because the rules aren't like, again, crazy impressive, but it's hilarious that he gets so many. So whenever he is set up in the field from Deep Strike, he can perform Aether Stride, which is an irrelevant keyword. Thanks. But if he does, basically he gets 3 separate things. His shooting weapon, Dark Blessing, goes from sustained 1 to sustained D3. All right, cool. It's fine. Until end of turn, he's not able to declare a charge. Well, that sucks. But upside, he's able to deep strike outside of 3 instead of 9.
Oh my gosh.
That's why he can't charge.
Does he have like a rapid fire melta-y thing?
No,
or
his gun is not that impressive. But no, what I think is really funny here is his gun is 9 shots, which means the sustained D3 is actually relevant. You are going to roll a 6, most likely, right? Maybe even a couple. But he hits on 2s. That's pretty solid, but it's 4-1-1. So it clears some screens, maybe. It whittles down some grots so that he could like kind of ignore them and go on to something else. I'm not mad about that part, but what I think is really funny is that it still says Deep Strike out of 3, even though this is immediately inaccurate. For months and months and like over 6 months, we have said in match play rules, there's an errata. If it says Deep Strike out of 3, it actually says Deep Strike out of 6. Why didn't we put that in the book? And the only argument is like, no, but that's supposed to be for casual play. Why? We have a rule that is so broken we had to change it, but we're going to leave it in casual play because we want casual play to be imbalanced.
And they've done that twice now in the last couple of releases.
Right.
Well, what I find strange is like, why not leave casual play of like, let's say the old thing they printed that was 3 inches. Okay, whatever. But then going forward, why not? You know what? You want it to be 6. So why don't you just make it
right?
that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my whole argument, right? Is like, I understand it's technically for casual play, and casual play use the book because we don't want to like mess with you guys, just have fun with your stuff. I get it. But again, they could have from that printing point on, hey, we've already got stuff in production. We made this change. Some of it's already printed at 3, or we've already sent off the images to be printed at 3. Again, I'm not mad at that, but we are so far after. You're telling me that between playtesting and whatever else, this was still saying 3 after
Yeah.
they made the change?
So-
we could have made it a 6. That's fine.
And this Demon Prince with wings, he doesn't have the same aura as the other one, right? The foot.
No. No, so his
So,
other ability is where I think the flavor fail actually comes in. So his other ability basically says when targeting a character unit, he gets to reroll 1s. Okay, that seems fine. No complaints. But as a Thousand Sons guy who's like all about psychic powers and the warp and whatever else, he gets to upgrade that ability to get full rerolls if targeting a Psyker character unit. Why does he care? Yeah, okay, but it's not about how many are out there. There's plenty of stuff like Grey Knights that, hate on demons and stuff like that. Like, I don't mind having a grudge against something, but those are all on theme. So it makes sense to me. But as a Thousand Sons guy, why does he hate Psykers so much? Like, everyone around him is in fact that thing. He is that thing. And don't get me wrong, like, the fact that he's anti-character, I think is very reasonable. Not only does it kind of make sense lore-wise, but also it's a good rule on the table.
I can kind of play devil's advocate, but does he have both of these abilities or no?
He has both.
Because I'm thinking like, okay, thematically, I suppose a Demon Prince from Thousand Sons is pretty likely to like kill your librarian in your squad, right? Like, but also the librarian's the one most likely to kill the Demon Prince, so it's kind of like goes both ways kind of thing, psych or hatred wise.
I mean, kind
but
of.
Thematically, it's okay. My thing is it doesn't have precision, right? Like, there's no way you're sniping out a psyker from a squad.
Correct.
So like, if it had that, it'd make more sense. Like, no, you psyker in the unit. If it's a psyker, I have precision. Like, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah. Even
because the relocate outside 6 and boom, I go for your character psyker. Like, that kind of makes sense if you put it all together, but it's missing some of the abilities to do that.
Okay, so my 2 cents here. Space Marine 2, we've all played it. There is a particular scene where a psyker gets completely exploded because of Thousand Sons. This is my thought of why it makes sense.
But
could it be better? Yes.
But see, that's like
But also, it affects them more because they're a psyker, so they're tapping into the warp, which Thousand Sons is pretty much like, that's our jam.
You're right.
It's more like the psyker is susceptible to Thousand Sons, not that Thousand Sons are supposed to be out to get psykers.
Correct. And that's the whole idea, right? Is like, no, the fact that you're connected to the warp, it's easier to like pick you out because I have this connection with you. But like, again, it's like a corruption thing, right? Thousand Sons and Tzeentch as a whole want everyone to have a link to the warp so that it's easier to corrupt them and do all these things and kind of bring them to their side, right? So you don't actually want to kill the psykers. You want them to be connected to the warp and leave the psykers alive because you'd rather convert them over to be, sorcerers or whatever else.
Yeah, I think you could almost invert the concept and be like, you get this bonus against non-psyker units. Like, hey, if you're just a bunch of guardsmen, I'm just going to corrupt you all. You have like no defense.
You're right. And there's a level of on the table, right? I think that's probably too powerful because there's like everything's a non-psyker except for the few data sheets that are psychers. So like there's a level of, no, but I get why that's too powerful on the table and we didn't do it. But like, why did we decide?
But flavor-wise, it makes sense.
Like, again, they could have given a bonus against like characters and then have the minor thing be against non-character units so that like, okay, now we still hate characters because we're like hunting them, right? Because they're the guy that we're trying to corrupt. But also, again, flavor-wise, why do we hate psychers so much? I don't get it. We like psychers. We want everyone to be a psycher so that like Tzeentch can corrupt them and like convert them and all this other stuff. So again, it's not that he's bad, right? He is a little specific. Yeah. The fact that he hates all characters as far as his ability makes him like better damage output. He has dev wounds on a sword. He is a good unit. But in general, I think it's a bit of a flavor fail that he hates psychers so much, combined with the fact that we have to acknowledge we are paying some amount of points for that upgraded ability because it is good. But the upgraded ability only applies to psyker characters, which there are so many factions that have access to 0 psychers. It's already situational. And then I have to like actually get to the psycher. Furthermore, I have to complain here a little bit is that it has to be a psyker character.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Which means like, it's not even a bonus against psychers because there's units that are psychers, but not characters. And I get nothing. Now it has to actually be a character and a psyker. Well, shit. It's a bit much. Anyway.
Yeah. So how about the character totally not from the Wheel of Time, the Fate Weaver?
So a Fate Weaver is probably the only data sheet in this codex that I'm going to say is kind of unplayable. He's expensive because he's a big boy. Okay, I'm not mad about that. And in all of these codexes we've seen over the last month and a half, 2 months or whatever, the demons are basically the same points or close to, right? They're like 5-10 points different. They're basically the same points as the Chaos Codex. And I think that's a really good jumping off point to like playtest stuff and adjust points later on down the road. I don't have a problem with his points. But the reality is with what the Thousand Sons are doing, with what they already have access to, Fate Weaver seems so redundant. It's just not really worth taking on top of how expensive he is. Hopefully they make him cheaper to make him more playable later, but also his abilities are just he helps you get increase the cost of CP, but he has to be close. And like that's fine, I guess. It's okay. I don't know that it's good, but it's okay. Yeah, I don't know. He's just too many points, and he's not synergistic at all with what Thousand Sons is already doing. The other one that I don't like is the Infernal. He's one of the many characters that can be attached to Rubric Marines. And then his ability is Sustained 1. Okay, I'm not mad at that. But also, half or more of your Rubric Marines are using flamers, so they don't actually roll to hit. And then your bolters aren't crazy good. It's not like we're giving sustain to Centurions or something crazy, right? It's just, it's okay to have.
It's kind of like a semi-non-bow, like the Death Guard character.
Again, it's not bad, because if you take him, you stop taking the flamers, which feels a little bad, but also like you're gaining Sustained 1, so arguably it's not that bad. And then his other ability is the once per turn, you can change a hit, wound, or saving throw to an unmodified 6. So you get to like fix one die. Okay, that's not bad. But also, like all the other characters you could attach to rubrics, I think are better. And then on top of that, Infernal was like the only character that can get attached to rubrics that went up in points. All the rest of them stayed the same or got cheaper. No, for a cheaper character, I will totally take lethal hits instead. And then also have a slightly different / better ability. It's not that the Infernal Master is bad. It's that in comparison, he went up in points because apparently GW is now afraid of the word sustained hits since Reddit exists. I just, again, especially in this faction where you've got a ton of flamers, a ton of like low strength, but like an extra AP for no reason. That's always been Thousand Sons thing, is like all my bolters have an extra AP just because. All my flamers have an extra AP just because. Like it's the infernal flame instead of, whatever else. So you have this bonus AP.
Yeah, evil gun explosions.
Yeah, but like I would rather, give my whole unit a 4 pinball to make them just live longer, and then also have like an apothecary ability for the same or less points. Like, why would I take the infernal? So
I wanted to ask a question real quick. Do they have access to the changeling, or is that a demons only thing?
So with all the updated codexes for all these aligned chaos factions, they do have access to demons. It's only in a specific detachment, and it's also a very limited number of data sheets, usually about like 5 or 6. So for this, Keeper of Secrets, Lord of Change, Flamers, Screamers, Pink Horrors, Blue Horrors. That's it. So they do have access to a named character. Keeper of Secrets, fair. Or not Keeper of Secrets, why did I say that? Sorry, Kara's Fate Weaver.
Right, the named one, yeah.
So like they do have access to Fate Weaver, but they don't have access to the Changeling. And I'll be honest, I thought the same thing. I was trying to put together some lists, and the first thing I was like, man, if they have access to Changeling, that's going to be amazing. They don't. Which is fine. Like, it's a little disappointing, but I'm not mad about it. That probably makes sense. But anyway.
Okay, so what about the good stuff?
Well, so let's do some bad detachments first. When it comes to the detachments, there's 2 that I kind of hate. We'll start with the Rubric detachment. I understand why this could be good. I'm sure someone can make this good, but basically Scarab Occult Terminators and Rubric Marines are the only ones that get a detachment benefit. And their detachment benefit is if they're being shot at or attacked with exactly weapons, or with weapons that have exactly 1 damage, then they get a bonus.
Okay.
Well, first off, there's some factions that have a lot of that. Fair. This sounds reasonable. And maybe there's like a meta-specific thing where this is really good. But in our current day and age, how many people are playing 2 damage and 3 damage things because Marines are so prevalent? Because like even in other factions beside Marines, they have a real amount of like 2, 3, 4 wound models. So there's a lot of like 2 damage weapons going around. There's a lot of 3 damage weapons going around. I don't think this is actually going to show up as much as it should. And then again, it only applies to the 2 basic units. I think this is pretty rough. The other one is the Warp Meld Pack. This is effectively the Cultist one, or the Zangors in this case, detachment. I get that they've kind of done this in everyone, where they're like, no, spam cultists or some sort of chaff unit and play a horde. I'm glad that this is in the book.
Yeah.
But the reality is this is such a bad detachment. And then on top of this, which we'll get to in a second, there's another detachment that accidentally does way better than this, even if you're trying to spam Zangors. I think this is hard unplayable. Like the Rubric, I think there's a meta matchup where you could totally make this work. I think there's like situations where maybe it's not bad, even though it's one of my least favorite. But the Warp Meld Pack, I think, is actually, you probably shouldn't play it. It's just not good enough. It forces you to play some kind of mediocre units that are probably on the bad side. And even when you can leverage them to make them good, they're still a better detachment for you. So, moving on.
Okay.
If we go to some good stuff, we've got the Demons detachment. We were talking about them a second ago. I like this detachment. Again, I didn't like all of the demon detachments that we got previously, but this one I think is pretty reasonable. So all demon units that you take in this detachment have an aura that says Thousand Son Psyker units, which should be most of them if you don't kill the Psyker off first, because they have like Psyker Sergeants. So most of them gain a 4-up invul against ranged attacks. Well, they already have a 5-up invul, and this is only against ranged attacks, so this is like reasonable and moderate as far as balance. Okay, it's good, but it's not crazy. But it's still really solid. Then you have all Thousand Sons units have an aura of basically demon units gain the Cabal of Sorcerers ability, which is the ability to cast the faction spells, or attempt them, I should say. This is reasonable. I like this because, again, you take some demon units, and now your pink horrors that when they die, basically you get blue horrors, like, so there's no real negative, can start attempting these psychic powers, so that if you roll doubles and take some damage, now you're like losing some demon models instead of your more expensive by like a good margin Thousand Son models. In addition to this, spells the stratagems are all very solid. There's a 2-cost one that I think is probably not worth it, but the rest of them are very good. Enhancements actually have a bunch of like Thousand Sons or Lord of Change as their restriction. Again, this is a very solid detachment. I don't think this is anywhere near as crazy as like the World Eater's Demon Detachment or things like that, but I do like it. Moving on, the other one I like is the Warp Forged detachment. This is the vehicle detachment. I think this is probably my favorite, and also the best or second best detachment in the Codex. I think this is great.
Are you vindicating for this one?
So the short answer is yes, but less than you would think. So the ability is Thousand Son vehicles, when they're selected to shoot or fight, it'll be relevant later. Whenever they're selected to shoot or fight, they get to reroll a hit or wound or damage roll. Okay, well that's decent. That's like the Iron Hands thing, right? But if the vehicle is within 6 inches of a friendly Thousand Sons Psyker, they get to reroll a hit, wound, and damage roll. So they get 3 CP effectively for free on every vehicle as long as it's within 6 of a Psyker.
They're the old Death Skulls.
Yeah, no, it's very good. And then there is technically a drawback here, though you could argue it's a positive. Thousand Sons vehicles that roll for deadly demise when they're destroyed, if they're within 6 inches of a Psyker, they explode on a 5+ instead of only a 6. Okay, so I'm more likely to explode and hurt my Psyker. That kind of sucks. That's supposed to be a drawback. Here's my argument. If you are in fact doing like some of the fighting stuff instead of shooting stuff, like a Mauler Fiend that's currently free-ish, you put a Mauler Fiend up in their face and it dies, and you've got a Demon Prince next to you or something. Yes, it's going to explode more often, but now it's actually a big benefit because, okay, that sucks. I hurt my Demon Prince a little bit, but also he's a big boy. He could probably take it. Even if I'm killing off some like Rubric Marines on accident, this is still solid because now that I'm up in their face because I'm doing it in melee, I am probably hurting more of the enemy than I'm hurting of myself. Yes, we've got a randomness of dice. Maybe that's not true, but it probably is true. And you could leverage this if you know it's coming to be a positive, which is awesome. In addition to that, I absolutely love the stratagems. I think this is probably the best stratagem table in my opinion. But again, it is mostly restricted to vehicles and psychers. Oh, it's like I only have a couple of psychers. And then the enhancements are solid. Some of them are so you can give a unit loan op if it's within 3 of a vehicle. There's a wombo combo with this that I love. What else? We can heal one up like we're Tech Marine, but it's a 6-inch aura instead of 3. Again, very solid. And this just goes on a Thousand Sons model. So you can have your Demon Prince run up with a Mauler Fiend and then like heal the Mauler Fiend while you're both engaged in combat. Very good. There's a couple of others, but again, I think this is probably the best attachment in here. I love this. And then as a reminder, our new models, the robots, are also vehicles, so they gain a bunch of benefits here. Very good. All right. So then as far as data sheets I like, I've heard a little bit of mixed reviews on Magnus. I'm going to put a stop to that right now. Magnus is currently, points-wise, and again, we'll get some updates next week. We'll see where we actually end up, but Magnus is technically more expensive than the other 3 Demon Primarchs. Okay, that's not ideal, but that being said, he is still very good. His data sheet is nuts. I would argue there's a justification as to why he's more expensive. That being said, I will admit the main reason I think he should be more expensive is situational. So he has a 24-inch aura on his data sheet of give your opponent's shooting weapons hazardous.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So I will be the first to admit this is somewhat situational, right? If you are fighting a Blood Angels player, they just won't shoot their pistols and they'll fight you. And like, then it becomes somewhat less relevant. But at 24 inches on a big base, on a big model that is fast, after turn 1, you are this close to basically saying it's the whole board. This is so freaking good. And so help me if you get like a normal matchup of Space Marines or Necrons or whatever else. This is huge. It is so good. If you get like the crazy matchup, you could just tell Tau to absolutely get fucked. Like, this is amazing. Yes, I think he should be more expensive than the other Primarchs. He is no pushover in melee because he is a Demon Primarch. He is also reasonably tough because he's a Demon Primarch, right? Like, he is no pushover in any stretch. Does he deserve to be more points? I don't know. Do I think he should be more points? Maybe not by this much, but by some amount? Absolutely. Because that ability is way too big. I think the ability is good. I don't think there's any problem with the ability. I think 24 inches is absurd. There's a very reasonable chance that his data sheet gets eroded. And the only thing they need to do is adjust that aura down. Even if you said 12-inch aura, on his giant base, on the fact that he's so mobile, I would argue is still amazing and also still very good and playable. The fact that it's 24 is
just
absurd.
Leave it. If they just point him up, it's fine.
You're right. And that's what they've done, right? Like right now, people are saying the reason Magnus is an auto-include, the reason he's worse than the others is because he's like 40 more points than all the rest of them. And that is not a small number. I will admit right now, that's almost entire Brook of Zangor's like fair. I'm not saying
it kind of sounds like a glass cannon thing, but it's more aura based. It's not like a direct.
And again, gun. I think it's reasonable. I am willing to play him right now at his current supposed points. If his points go down, which is what I think probably is okay to happen, he becomes even more playable.
Yeah.
That being said, I would like to see his aura get smaller, go down to 18 inches or 12 inches or something more reasonable, and then reduce his points down to be more in line with the others. I think that's what would be best. That being said, I'm fine with, at his current 24-inch range, him being more expensive. Again, if he goes down 10 points, 15 points, I'd be happy about it. But also,
we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that some people aren't going to take him, and a lot of it's going to be a durability argument and totally ignoring the effect he has on the table while he's alive.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, and I want to do an episode on this next week, but talk about data sheets that don't, like, when you look at the data sheet, the damage output isn't actually what the data sheet says, right? Because this is an example of many, but I'll go more in depth this later, of like, no, but if you look at his damage output, like, oh, he's got this psychic power, and oh, he's got, like, let's assume he always does Doom Bolt because he gets +2 to his casting roll. He's got some good melee. Well, he probably kills like this much. Okay, but that's not true, because the minute you're playing Votann, well, no, it turns out he actually killed like 7 or 8 models on your opponent's turn. That's crazy. Like, it doesn't have to do with his data sheet at all. It's my opponent had to run away from me and be more than 24 inches away and then still have enough range to shoot me to death. Or they had to accept taking mortal wounds on their vehicles, and they had to accept probably losing some of their units or their infantry models after they shoot at me. Like, their only real option is to melee him to death. And at that point, they are not only giving up their shooting, which is already net benefit, sounds great, but then they have to fight him in combat where he's a demon Primarch, and he's not the best in melee, right? Because that's not his job, but he is not bad at it in any stretch. This guy's actually great. All right, so moving on, we have the Predator Annihilator. This is probably it's definitely top 3 data sheets in this whole codex. This thing is hilariously good. Okay, so it's just a Predator with las cannons. That's the Annihilator. But his ability is awfully funny, if you ask me. They tried to put it in a restriction, but it's not real. So each time this model makes a ranged attack that targets a monster or vehicle, we were going to do that anyway, we have las cannons. If that unit that he targets was previously hit by psychic attacks from a Thousand Sons Psyker in your army this phase. This includes the Doom Bolt ritual. So you mean like if it was shot at by anything in my entire army, if my Rubric Marine Sergeant looked at him sideways while the rest of the unit was doing something totally different, my ability goes off? You're right. Basically, there's no restriction. What do we get for that? Well, after completing these non-existent restrictions, you can re-roll all the hit rolls. That's pretty good. And all of the damage rolls. What? Okay, we don't get to re-roll to wound.
Re-roll all damage rolls?
Yeah.
For las cannons? You nuts?
See what I'm saying? This is crazy.
Whatever we shot's fucking dead.
You're right. Like, the amount of consistency that this thing has, right? Like, it doesn't get to reroll to wound, except for the main gun, which has twin linked. But while we don't get to reroll the to wound on our sponsons, we're strength 14. We're almost let me rephrase. We are always wounding on a 3. I don't know that I'm mad about that. The fact that I get to reroll the hit, which my opponent, like, it's very consistent that they have -1 to hit either from smoke or, some sort of ability, whatever else. Well, I get to reroll that, even if I'm bracketed. So I'm getting minuses to hit. Let me just reroll that. So it's actually like I'm hitting better than my normal 3-up ballistic skill would hit. This is great.
It's fine.
And then I get to reroll damage, making me incredibly consistent when it comes to killing tanks. And again, they might update points, but right now it's like 130 points.
So 3 Predators, 3 Vindicators, and Magnus. Just go. Again, the Vindicator here it has the same role as every other Vindicator. They spelled out some stuff a little better, which is good, and I'm glad that they updated it, but it's basically just a normal, basic Vindicator. It's not special. But it's still good. And again, in that vehicle detachment where you get to reroll like a hit, a wound, and a damage, well, now it's also incredibly consistent. Yeah, no, they're great. I don't know what else to say about that. If you don't have a Predator Annihilator in your Thousand Sons list, you're probably playing it wrong. I'm not saying you got to spam 3 of it, but also you better have 1.
If you don't have one, what is wrong with you? Well, the answer is you're probably playing the Zangor detachment and you already want to do this. But,
Burn.
I'm a little spicy about that. But again, it's so good. So the last data sheet that I'm going to touch is the Vortex Beast. This is also one that got updated and got better. Also, again, I believe got cheaper, but we'll see when points actually get updated. I think he's great. He is another one that I'm not going to say is an auto include, but also I'm probably going to put in close to every list. He's great. He's vehicle toughness as far as T10, 13 wounds. That's great. He's only got a 4-up save. That's not great, but he's got a 5-up invul and he's got a 5-up feel no pain. So still very tanky. Happy about that. He can do some mortal wounds at the end of the movement phase in an aura, which is hilarious. In addition to that, he makes enemy units within his aura take battle shock tests probably. So he's messing with OC and winning objectives. Sounds great. In addition to all this, he adds one to the psychic tests for Thousand Sons Psychers within 6, which means we're more like, and this stacks by the way with a bunch of stuff. So like my Exalted Sorcerer can get +1 to his roll, and then this guy gives him +1, and then I have 2 of these. This is worded in such a way both Vortex Beasts give him a +1. It's actually a +3. Well, remember that 2-up or that bonus 2 AP that we said was kind of hard to roll for? Well, now we're like kind of rolling average on it. It's actually pretty reasonable. This guy's great. In melee, he's got 2 different melee weapons, but the reality is neither of them have extra attack, so it turns into a strike and a sweep profile. Again, very good. His shooting weapon has 3 different profiles, and they're all good. Okay? I don't know how else to say it. They're all good. In different ways, in different situations. One's meant for Overwatch because it has Torrent. One's meant for like shooting regular units, and then one's a tank gun. You only get 1 shot with that gun. That kind of stinks. But also strength 18, D6 +6 damage. Like, yeah, it has the 1 die problem, but also it's still so good. This is also probably one of my top 5 data sheets. I think they're great. Again, I would put them in almost every list. Again, maybe just 1, maybe you're not spamming 3, but like, it's so good. So I think that's kind of the thing. Again, I'm still working on putting some lists together. It's taking me longer because the app's not updated. And also, even after I get them put together, I'm going to sit on them for a week to make sure that the points are accurate for you guys. We got some, I don't remember if I already said this. We got some feedback when we put up the Death Guard list, and people really seem to like that. So I'm going to keep trying to do that for every faction review we do from now on. But even with that being said, like I said, I want it to be accurate. So I'm going to wait till next week so we can get you guys some good lists. But yeah, that's...
All right.
What's up?
Are you ready for hobby time?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to start with a rules question that I think you're going to enjoy.
Oh, God, that's not hobbies.
It's still a hobby. No, I mean, we're still kind of on the thing, so I want to ask this before we jump into other stuff. Okay, so Magnus has a 24-inch aura.
Correct.
Of opponents' guns get hazardous. It's not keyworded to like vehicles or whatever, right?
Let me double check real quick. I don't believe so, but again, I've had this codex for less than 24 hours. Let me make sure I'm not misremembering.
Okay, while you're looking that up, I'm going to read this paragraph out of context. If a weapon equipped by a model from your army has the hazardous ability from multiple sources, each time you take a hazardous test for that weapon, it is failed on a roll of a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
Can you guess where that's from, Chris?
Orc somewhere.
That's the detachment rule for Dread Mob. So it means even if I'm not choosing to like double hazardous to get more abilities on like my killicans
Yep.
and stuff, Magnus still triggers it.
Correct. Which, to be fair, while that sucks for you, it also
And now you're
has
definitely gonna do it anyway.
It has a side benefit of now you get to select all the time with basically no penalty because you were gonna like get the thing anyway.
You're going to pay the penalty.
Yeah, so
it just
it's both.
it's
a
kind of a
negative-
funny scenario.
Yeah, it's both a negative and a positive. But yes, I'm here now. Select one enemy unit within 24 of this Psyker till the end of phase. All ranged attacks by this model or models in that unit have hazardous. So
Oh, it's just one unit? That's not so bad.
you're right. It's not so bad. But the reality is, at a 24-inch range, it doesn't require line of sight. It's still actually crazy because you are picking the unit that A, has the most guns, and B, is like able to shoot at something. And you already know this, right? Because it's of the timing of the thing. You already know that it's going to shoot. And it has a bunch of guns. And you're like, I'm absolutely going to lose that brick of rubrics. But also, I'm going to take half your unit with me.
Honestly, it's kind of like anti-Centurion nonsense.
Sure.
Anything that has a lot of guns, and honestly, a lot of the Space Marine stuff has a lot of separate guns.
Correct. Because, like, again, there's no restriction on vehicles. So, like, pick a Gladiator Lancer. Well, it turns out its main gun and its sponson and its other, like, top hat gun and its defensive, like, now you got to roll for each
or a
of those.
Redemptor. Like, there's a lot that. Now your piddly guns are such a risk that maybe you don't even shoot them. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Again, is it absolutely broken? No. I'm not saying it isn't anyway, because again, you pick one unit, like, it's good. But also, it's so good in so many situations. I'm absolutely arguing it's worth him being extra points. Like, again, whether we're talking orcs or whether we're talking blood angels, right? You're right. I could turn off the pistols of Sanguinary Guard, but also I don't know that I care. I select the unit that actually has real guns that he brought, the Intercessors,
The Ball Predator.
Ball Predator, something like that, right? That has a bunch of guns. And the thing that was actually going to shoot and I was actually worried about, I now tell my opponent, it has hazardous. Are you sure you want to shoot at all? And then he just might not shoot. And if he doesn't, that's great.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I think it has to be powerful because he's so many points. And so I think the points argument is fine.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see it nerfed in points and range and a bunch of other stuff at the same time.
Right, and I agree with you.
I think it's okay for the ability to be like sort of crazy because I don't see it as any crazier than the Death Guard detachment nonsense of the Aura of Stank.
Yeah,
because that's super powerful.
Correct.
But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
So
again,
hobby-wise,
I think he should go down in points. I'm fine with that. I just don't think he should be the same price as all the others, which is what it seems like a lot of people were hoping for in order to call him like good, air quotes. Because I think that ability is actually way better than people give it credit.
I also think people have a giant bias to models that they're playing. So it's whatever. Hobby-wise, I've been doing orcs still for the GT this weekend. I'm trying to cram the basing nonsense. I had to order more basing stuff because I couldn't find the crackle basing nonsense for the ice effect. I also am not airbrushing the like 10 extra orcs I got to paint. I'm doing it with washes like I did originally for the ice effect over white and then just dry brushing them white. I'll put up some pictures or something. You guys will see. I've done it a million times. I'm kind of excited because after this GT, I'm going to paint probably a bunch of drop fleet stuff, which is a totally different kind of thing to paint at like a 1/10,000 scale or whatever. It's not even 10 mil. They're like spaceships. But so I have a couple fun Zinchi questions for you. Do you think the requirements to be a psyker is really just figuring out what the Dewey Decimal System is?
No, that's a requirement of being a Thousand Sons, but not of a psyker. There are plenty of psychers that don't book.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have a more large accusation for Thousand Sons. So Thousand Sons, they don't get new Rubric Marines. They kind of like eternalized all their Rubric Marines, and then when they die, they like get reformed out of dust through magic nonsense, right? So in theory, they're all like the same Marines over and over and over and over again. The funny part is they do recruit psychers though, which is funny with cultists going away, but whatever. So I wanted to argue that yes, Prospero's basically gone, but I think the reality is that if you want to join the Thousand Sons, you're basically getting in on a pyramid scheme.
They do have an Egyptian theme. I agree with
no. I mean, I'm saying that it's literally organized like a pyramid scheme. Like all the benefits go to the bottom, all the changing nonsense, but they have to keep widening the bottom to support like the middle managers, and then they'll have to support the next one. Like Magnus is just a business tycoon with a pyramid scheme. He got all the Rubric Marines locked in. Like,
yeah,
they're stuck. They can't escape.
Sure, Magnus the Ponzi scheme. I get you.
No, but it's like the Psyker Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
It's perfect. But I mean, that's also how they're only, I mean, we've been sold the pyramid scheme thing. Like they're trying to find the special people who are willing to believe in the thing, who are basically the psychers they farm out of the cultists to put into like the low level management positions.
I kind of see
just so they can soup up their librarians. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of see Thousand Sons as like a kind of mediocre like college football team, right? Like they're recruiting everyone based upon their like natural talent. Like, man, that guy's like 6'3" and like 250 pounds. Like, holy cow! But also they're like, no, I'm sorry, you're too skinny. Go away. It's like, you're not a psycher. I don't care if you're a good player. You don't meet the requirement. Get out of here.
Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know. I just think it's funny. Because like a pyramid scheme is not even necessarily pyramid themed because of Thousand Sons being pyramid themed, but they kind of fit together. I don't know. That's just my hot take. Every faction is actually just something else. Hidden in plain sight.
I can't even with you.
I whatever.
Oh, God. Well, is that all we got for this episode?
I think it is. We will be back next week with not a Codex review for a week. Then we'll probably get Space Wolves after that.
You think Magnus listens to Dust in the Wind all the time?
Oh, my God.
I'm done.
Well, with that being said, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Hey, everybody. It's Aaron. I want to thank you again for tuning in for this episode of Gopher's Workshop with us, hanging out and listening. Remember, leave a 5-star review. Let us know what you think. And if you feel like supporting us, you can always go to Patreon in the show notes below. Thanks. Till next time.